Namaskar and welcome to Kala Kahani, comprising stories of artists and their craft, their personalities, their vision, from a different perspective, a different angle. ये कलाकार देश के विभिन्न भागों से हैं, मुख्तलिफ शैलियों से हैं। ज़्यादातर आज की पीढ़ी के उत्कृष्ट कलाकार हैं, लेकिन कुछ उनसे सीनियर भी हैं। So welcome to Kala Kahani Season 1, comprising artists from different streams, different generations and different perspectives. कला कहानी में आज हम आपकी मुलाकात करवाने जा रहे हैं बहुत ही प्रतिभाशाली सत्रिया डांसर और रिसर्चर अनवेसा महंता से। अन्वेषा संगीत नाटक अकेडमी पुरस्कार से सम्मानित बायनाचार्य गुरु घनाकांत बोरा की शिष्या हैं। She has been an active performer since 2001 and has been learning, training, researching and interpreting Sattriya music, dance and theatre for 2 decades now. She has also worked on many choreographic presentations of her own under the supervision of her mentor. Anwesa constantly tries to enlarge the performance canvas and expand her own repertoire. आपने अनेक इंस्टीट्यूशंस में लेक्चर डेमोन्स्ट्रेशंस दिए हैं और अपने पेपर्स भी प्रेजेंट किए हैं। युवा कलाकारों को मंच प्रदान करने के लिए और उन्हें अपने विचार व्यक्त करने के उद्देश्य से अन्वेसा ने प्रज्योति इंटरनेशनल डांस फेस्टिवल की शुरुआत की है। आप दूरदर्शन की ग्रेडेड और आईसीसीआर की इम्पैनल्ड आर्टिस्ट हैं। आज की तारीख में समकालीन संगीत जगत में अनवेसा महंता ने अपना एक विशिष्ट स्थान बनाया है। Anwesa, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to Kala Kahani.
Thank you so much, Sadhna ji, for making me a part of this beautiful series. And I'm looking forward to the interaction.
Tell me, Sattriya is the newest in the list of classical dances of India, and it basically evolved out of the rituals of the Satra. Could you tell us about Sattriya dance and the Satra system of Assam?
Actually, whenever we talk about this dance form, we have to go back to 15th century Assam, when the great saint poet Srimanta Shankaradeva took the medium of arts to reach out to people and spread about bhakti faith. So, taking the ideals from Bhagavata Purana, he had conceptualized Ankiyanat, and that itself was a combination of music, dance and drama. And through Ankiyanat, through the medium of arts, he had tried to reach out to corners of Assam. That time Assam was a huge area, covering almost the entire northeast. And it became so popular, the entire form of Ankiyanat. Gradually, from that wing, his later disciples also thought about giving shape of dance as an independent wing. So from the series of Ankiyanat, we had dance also. And gradually from that, the allied traditions also started evolving, like we had the craft tradition, textile tradition, mask tradition. And everything happened during the period of Shankaradeva itself. Later on, the saint, poet and his apostles, they thought about how to preserve this huge range of artistic tradition, and indirectly they thought about institutionalization of culture or institutionalization of arts, and satras emerged. So the entire concept of satresu samajesu, with a formulation of such an institution which could meditate on these bhakti principles, which could meditate on these idealistic concerns of bhakti, the entire concept of Satra emerged. And of course, after passing away of the saint poet, his later apostles took this journey ahead and gradually shaped up Satra as an institution. And today, as we see Satra, Satria Dance, and its entire journey, it's the contribution of the Satras and the masters who had been continuously practicing this and preserving it.
And when did these rituals come out of the Satras as dance forms and music forms into the public?
This also has a historical reference because during the Ahom kingdom itself, there was an invitation to the Satras that the dance form has been invited to be presented in the Ahom court. So initially that came as a kind of a shock to the practitioners, that how this entire ritualistic presentation which is done in the Namghar will be presented in the Ahom court. So the masters had thought about newly choreographing a piece with new bowls, taking on the basis of the mridanga, which has been used in Assam. It's so taking that mridanga bowls. The masters had conceived a new dance form, and new ragas had also been associated, setting up a new structural pattern of the talas. So everything was a newly choreographed and composed piece, and that was presented in the Ahom court. So we call it as Razaghoria Sali, and that was like a beginning of a step, almost a step of Sattriya moving, a Sattriya presentation moving out of the ritualistic presentation. And then gradually we see that when the Namghars also emerged in different village corners, we had the Sattriya masters teaching these ritualistic presentations in various Namghars also. So there was a sort of circulation of arts that was happening surrounding the Sattriyas, and gradually that interaction, though everything was done in a ritualistic pattern. In the wake of the freedom movement in India, when there has been a lot of discussion by the literatures about understanding the arts as a kind of heritage, taking pride in your heritage, that was a kind of a conscious involvement of the art form, and presenting it as a pride of the state or pride of the region. And that was a period when a lot of invitations also started coming to the Sattriyas to present the art form. So the Gayan band team went.
You mean the orchestra, vocal?
Orchestral, yes, yes. And along with that, also the boys, the monks, they had also presented the dance numbers. So that kind of invitations gradually started happening. And that periodically kept on for though not on a regular interval, regular basis, but at a periodic intervals, these invitations happened. And that was a time that Sattriya gradually took its step from the ritualistic presentation and started getting presented.
Say you belong to a Satra, how is it? Were you born into it? Did your parents belong to it? Or is it because your guru comes from a Satra?
There are two kinds of Satras. One that follows celibate order and one that follows domestic order. So I belong to a domestic order Satra. And there is a 24/7 engagement of arts which keeps happening in the celibate order Satras. So one of the very prominent celibate order Satra is the Kamalabari Satra. And but in domestic order Satras, while the male figures, they can marry, they can also carry out other professions, and but keep the ritualistic prasanga intact. So the morning ragas and everything, the morning rituals will have to be done, and the person will go out and carry on his service and other necessary for his livelihood, and then come back and finish the evening prasanga. So that kind of occasion, serial sequence of the presentations are kept even in the domestic order Satra.
Like I mentioned earlier, this is one of the newest classical dance form to be listed. In the initial stages, one saw a lot of influence of Bharatanatyam and Odissi Bhangimas in the Sattriya dance. How was that?
Sadhnaji, we cannot say this or refer this as a statement of fact. Even that the initial presentations were done by the monks, and so there wouldn't be a question of these kind of influences in their presentation. But in the matter of presentation, in the matter of showcases of Sattriya, where a lot of practitioners had come forward and given their presentations, there has also been reference that some of them had been trained in different fields, like in Kathak, in Manipuri, in Odissi, and also in other dance forms. And this I'm saying, keeping in mind the reference of the wake of freedom movement of India, when everyone got conscious, this is our pride, this is our heritage. So a lot of elite families had also, taken interest and asked their family members to get trained in the form. So in due course, if there had been a reference in some of your body getting trained in another form and all of a sudden being introduced to Sattriya and then presenting it, there could be one or two reference of, the muscle memory getting in tune with different art forms, but that cannot be a statement of fact. But yes, in terms of practice, there might have been certain occasions where you might have seen such, and this could happen even now, in a sense, like if I all of a sudden I start getting trained in Manipuri now, my body will definitely get more, the Sattriya movement will come naturally.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So that could be one of, that those kind of references
Okay.
might have been there.
Anvesa, your abhinay in Sattriya is very intense. Is it your own innovation?
Sadhna ji, I cannot claim it as at my own innovation, but yes, every dancer has a personalized approach, a personal involvement with the art form. My reference of intensity in the abhinaya would definitely be the theatre tradition in Sattriya. And the rich Hasta Abhinay medium in Ojapali, which we have in Sattriya tradition itself. So definitely the reference goes there. But also, being a student of literature, the huge amount of literature that we have penned by Srimanta Shankaradev and Madhav Deva, the intensity of the
Sahitya.
Sahitya. So that is one of the most inspirational medium that has, I try to embody that and try to present it.
Sattriya has its roots in the Vaishnav tradition. Now, can you go out of the boundary of this tradition and do something on Shiva or Shakti or any other theme?
I see this particular question in, I would like to answer it in a two-way dimension. One, of course, Sattriya being a Vaishnavite art form, directly we cannot refer to, we mostly, follow the Vaishnavite themes. But also at the same time, if I refer to the philosophy of Sattriya, if I refer to the philosophy of Neo Vaishnavism by Srimanta Shankaradev, it invokes both male and female energy inherent in our body. As the same poet himself says that Prakriti Purusha Niyanta Madhava. It invokes, it keeps that balance of both Prakriti and Purusha. And through my representation, you see that invocation of both male and feminine energy. So directly, of course, I might not take Durga Vandana, but definitely in my representation, in my compositions, in the choreographies, in Sattriya choreographies, you definitely see that balance of male and feminine energy. Within the corpus of Bhakti literature, there are such themes which allow us to do. Shri Vandan, where I did entire choreographic piece was on Lakshmi, Shankaradeva composition. So these kind of work we have done. Markandeya Stuti is also one where there is a very powerful representation of Shiva. So those kind of work has also been presented.
Anvesa, you've done your PhD in oral tradition. Now, all our art forms in India have come down through the generations via the oral tradition. So, which aspect of oral tradition did you do your research on?
The topic of my research PhD work under the guidance of Professor P.C. Patnaik was traditions of performing arts in Assam and the role of satras. So the oral tradition was like a wide area which was there. My entire research was on the range of performance traditions of Assam, wide range of performance traditions, and with the emergence of Satrias, what happened in the entire performance scenario. So that was my work. Also, it took up the sociological nature of performance. So performance both in the ritualistic context and how it has been passed on generations after generations as an oral pedagogy.
Now tell me, both your parents are noted scholars. So how have they influenced your thinking, subsequently your performance?
A lot, of course, a lot, because you know a child gets trained first at home. So definitely I feel blessed that I have been daughter of Professor Pradeep Jyoti Mahanta and Minati Chaudhary, and with their work nature, with their entire work profile, I happened to get introduced to the performance traditions right from my early childhood. So my mother, she was from a media background. She worked in Doordarshan. So she used to document a lot of performance traditions, and I used to hang around with her. And so is my father. When he used to go for his research field work, I used to hang around with him, and that was my first exposure to the range of performance traditions of Assam. So that definitely, and their acquaintances with different scholars, the discussions that happened in our drawing room, that also helped a lot in understanding the seriousness, the academic nature of performances, along with the practitioner aspect.
And how have you enlarged the canvas of Sattriya?
Uh, the entire definition of Satria dance, uh, it varied from time to time. So when I was a child, it was something that was handed down to me as a kind of very sacred art form, something that was handed down. And gradually, I was trying to understand its technique, embody the technique, and at the next point, I felt that this dance is something, a part of me. It's my expression. So the journey from these various points had helped me in understanding and engaging with the art form in different ways. So the journey, when it became my expression, when the art form became my expression, from that point it took a different flight, and I started exploring more and more literary pieces of Shankaradeva and Madhavdeva, and that helped me look. Let us do this. I mean, why can't we do these kind of work, this composition? So that kind of exploration started happening, and it's still on. So the journey is still on. So I think at various points the connection, the relationship of you and the art form, it varies, and that uh, ultimately shapes you and your art form.
Okay. Anwesa, how much can you innovate within tradition? Do you need to go out of it also?
A lot. I think I haven't, as of now, I haven't moved out of the work, because even to a lot of contemporary themes, I can relate to staying within the corpus of the tradition. There were certain occasions where a lot of thematic works were asked, were had been asked, and we had done presentations taking a cue of our own bhakti literature. So, Sadhnaji, the amount of literature that we have is immense. Apart from the immediate references of the Bargeets, which we generally take in dance, we have the philosophical compositions also of Shankaradeva, a lot of philosophical compositions. These are hardly explored, and those philosophical compositions are so anyone at any point of time can relate. I feel that there are a lot of scope of innovation. We can expand and we can work on these, and of course at particular point of time, if the dancer feels that gets tired with this, I don't know, in future there might be certain things, but as of now we have a lot of things to explore, and my first take would be to work more on these work.
You have an institution, Kalpa. Could you tell us about it?
So Kalpa was established in 2009 with certain like-minded people, with few friends, art friends which we have, and then we thought of working together in the field of art and literature and culture. So with that aim in mind, we took up an adventure. 2009, we started an international dance festival. Till that point, such dance festivals were done mostly by Sangeet Natak Academy and by government organizations. When my parents took me to see Chennai season, I had asked my father that why don't we have such grand celebration of arts even in Guwahati. That question remained within me, and Pragjyoti International Dance Festival, which is one of the first endeavors of Kalpa, that was a sort of an answer to that question which we attempted. So at a very private level, we tried to organize this festival where some of our friends, they came forward and they had presented the art forms, and gradually this year we had finished our 11th edition of Pragjyoti International Dance Festival. So that's what I mean, that has been one of the endeavors. Apart from that, some of the research work had also been done by Kalpa. Kalpa had also started Kalpa Vriksha, an institution to impart Sattriya training. And we have also collaborated with outside universities to work in the field of performance ethnography and community performance.
Unless I've seen you in many festivals, and I've noticed that you pay a lot of attention to your costume.
Because I love mekla chadar, and the costume is made of mekla chadar. So maybe my love for mekla chadar had also helped me in working on the costume. But yes, Aharya is a very important component in any dance presentation. So if I have to present Sattriya, I have to take care to each and every uh, field of presentation, including the Aharya. So I make sure that the Aharya is neat, everything works according to the presentation, so that I could present the art form in its best way, including the ornaments, which ornament I would wear, whether it would according to the height, according to the presentation, everything should come alive. So all those things come to the presentation matter, and I try my best to pay heed to it.
You said you love mekla chadar. So when you
Yes.
see a when you see a beautiful mekla chadar, what is your first instinct? Do you want to wear it as a mekla chadar, or do you want to cut it up and make a costume of it?
The moment I see a mekla chadar, gorgeous mekla chadar, I feel that my wardrobe is calling, the pulling the mekla chadar to the wardrobe. but but yes, we have variety of mekla chadars. So Assam has a lot of ethnic communities. So every ethnic community we have various designs. So seeing those designs, the call is always from within. I need this. I need this to wear it. But at the same time, sometimes I see certain mekla chadar where immediate appeal is that this would be perfect for a costume. The color, the shade, the motifs. Because Sattriya, again, we cannot wear all kinds of mekla chadars. We cannot make it as a costume. So the motifs, the color, the shade, everything matters. So it depends on the mekla chadar. But of course, the moment I see it, I will, there is a call from within. I need the mekla chadar. Yeah.
Tell me which other art form inspires you apart from Sattriya?
I think any kind of artistic endeavors, the artistic zeal always inspires me. The method of the process of, an artist shaping the art form. So it could be sculpture, it could be painting. And now my husband being a painter himself, when I see him playing with the colors and emoting with various shades, so definitely these are, I get drawn to it. So I won't say that only performing arts inspire me, but any kind of artistic process and artistic zeal always inspire me.
Tell me, have the two of you collaborated together for some presentation, your husband and you, like
Uh,
painting and dance or something like that?
Not yet, though. Like, I must admit that the way when I see him work and the various emotions, he is basically into portrait. His specialization is into portrait painting. So when I see him working on various shades of emotion with the facial expressions, that is when again that gave me a different perspective of how can I work on various layers of my muscles, facial muscles. So maybe in future there we would work together, but as of now, I think we have collaborated only till photography. He is also into photography.
How do you like to spend your free time?
I have spent with a lot of readings. I had spent time with writings. I had spent time with the dance, spent time in documenting few things which was there as a part of Kalpa's endeavor. So though it's happening online, but we have also done some of the documentation.
Thank you so much, Anwesa, for being with us today and taking so much of time for us today.
Thank,
Thank
thank you so much, Sadhna ji. It was indeed a pleasure sharing the thoughts with you. Thank you.
you. ये तो था हमारा आज का एपिसोड। डू टेल अस हाउ यू लाइक इट। अपने अगले एपिसोड में हम फिर उपस्थित होंगे एक और कलाकार के साथ। तब तक के लिए हमें अनुमति दीजिए। गुड बाय एंड नमस्कार।